Have you ever wondered what secrets an abandoned ranch might hold? What forgotten stories lie hidden beneath overgrown fields and crumbling barns? For Claire Donovan, a dedicated park ranger, the answer would change her life forever. When Claire signed the papers to purchase the old Whitaker Ranch for just $1, she had no idea what awaited her. The county clerk gave her a puzzled look, eyebrows raised at the absurdly low price for 100 acres. But Claire knew the truth. This land had been abandoned for 2 decades, its buildings falling into ruin and whispers of ghosts keeping potential buyers away. For Claire, it wasn't about owning property. It was about restoring a forgotten piece of land to its former glory. As she drove her government truck through the broken wooden gate for the first time, an eerie stillness settled over the ranch. Weathered buildings leaned drunkenly against the prairie sky, their roofs caved in like broken spines. Waist-high grass waved silently in the breeze. Claire parked near the largest barn, its doors swaying ominously in the wind. Something stirred inside. Her hand instinctively went to the pepper spray on her belt. As she approached cautiously, bears and coyotes sometimes wandered this far from the woods, but the low, rumbling groan that emanated from the shadows was like nothing she'd ever heard before. Claire froze as the darkness shifted, revealing a massive form that took her breath away. A horse lay stretched across the dirt floor. But not just any horse. This was a colossal stallion, his coat as dark as midnight, his body so immense he looked like a creature from legend. His ribs rose and fell shallowly, his eyes glistening with what could only be described as sorrow when they flicked open to meet Claire's gaze. "Oh my God," Claire whispered, crouching down. "You poor thing." Over the next hour, Claire gathered what supplies she could find around the dilapidated ranch. She managed to coax water from a rusty old pump and brought it to the stallion in a battered bucket. His ears twitched at her approach, head lifting weakly to drink. Up close, Claire could see the marks of severe neglect. A tangled mane, cracked hooves, and scars along his flank that spoke of cruel treatment. But beneath the grime, an ancient strength still lingered in his powerful muscles. As the sun began to set, Claire stayed by the stallion's side, speaking softly about everything and nothing. She told him about her drive to the ranch, about her mother who always said kindness was never wasted, about how icily the world forgets. The horse's eyes followed her every movement, as if memorizing the sound of her voice. By nightfall, Claire had made her decision. She wouldn't just renovate this ranch, she would save this magnificent creature. Days turned into weeks, as Claire divided her time between her ranger duties and caring for the stallion she named Midnight. Every morning before sunrise, she'd arrive with fresh hay and grain. She gently cleaned his coat until it shone like black silk, learning to read his moods through the flick of his tail or the angle of his ears. At first, Midnight refused to stand, his legs trembling violently with each attempt. But Claire knelt beside him, pressing her forehead to his and whispering, "We'll try again tomorrow." And they did, day after day, until one golden afternoon when sunlight slanted through the broken roof and Midnight pushed himself upright. Silhouette filled the barn like a living monument, bringing tears of joy to Claire's eyes. "You did it," she said, stroking his muscular neck. "You're still here." As word spread about Claire's devotion to the mysterious black stallion, locals began to share stories. Old-timers at the diner muttered about how the horse had once belonged to Whitaker himself, supposedly descended from ancient war horses. They called it the Devil's Shadow, the strongest thing on 4 legs that no one could tame after the family's downfall. Some claimed the horse had gone mad, but Claire saw no madness in Midnight's eyes, only profound loneliness. Still, there were moments that made her wonder about Midnight's past. During thunderstorms, he would bolt to the far corner of the pasture, nostrils flaring and body quivering as if haunted by memories only he could see. Claire would stay beside him until the storm passed, humming softly to ground him in the present. As Midnight regained his strength, the ranch began to heal as well. Claire repaired fences, cleared overgrown fields, and planted vibrant wildflowers. Midnight became her constant companion, following her everywhere like a silent, protective shadow. One evening, as the horizon blazed pink with sunset, Claire decided it was time to take a monumental step. She approached Midnight with a bridle, slipping it gently over his head. His eyes widened and muscles tensed, but Claire waited patiently, her heart steady. "It's okay," she whispered. "I'll never hurt you." After what felt like an eternity, Midnight relaxed. Claire swung lightly onto his broad back, feeling the immense power coiled beneath her. For a breathless moment the world stood still. Then, with a snort, Midnight surged forward. They flew across the pasture, grass bending under thundering hooves. Claire clung tight, tears streaming from the rush of wind and emotion. She had ridden horses before, but nothing could have prepared her for this. Midnight moved like living thunder, each powerful stride echoing freedom itself. When they finally slowed, Claire slid down and pressed her face into his neck. "Thank you," she murmured. Midnight answered with a low rumble that seemed to say, "No, thank you." As months rolled into seasons, the transformation of both ranch and horse became impossible to ignore. The once abandoned buildings now stood proud and repaired. Birds nested in barn rafters and wildflowers stretched in colorful fields. Midnight's coat gleamed in the sunlight, his spirit unshackled and majestic, and Claire found herself changed as well. For years she had poured herself into her work as a ranger, protecting forests and wildlife, yet always feeling a subtle disconnect from the world around her. With Midnight, that distance melted away. She wasn't just a park ranger anymore. She was part of something far older and deeper than words could express. On quiet evenings, Claire would sit beneath the stars, resting her head against Midnight's side to feel the steady beat of his heart. In that rhythm, she heard promises that broken things could mend, that forgotten places could bloom again, that even a soul scarred by neglect could learn to trust once more. News of the ranger and her midnight stallion spread far beyond the local gossip. Articles were written, and children began visiting the ranch to meet the once mythical horse. Donations trickled in to help Claire fully restore the property into a sanctuary for other abandoned animals. One crisp autumn evening, Claire stood at the fence line with Midnight beside her. She reflected on the strange path that had led her here. A $1, an abandoned ranch, a forgotten horse, yet what she had gained was truly priceless. She whispered into the cooling air, "We saved each other, didn't we?" Midnight gently nudged her shoulder in response, as sure and steady as always. Claire smiled, her eyes stinging with grateful tears. And there, under the vast and forgiving sky, woman and horse stood together. Not as owner and beast, not as savior and saved, but as two kindred spirits who had found their way home at last.